Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. We've got a really interesting one today.
Yeah.
You sent in a ton of articles about generative AI security.
hmm
And honestly, this stuff, it feels like we're living in a William Gibson novel.
It really
I mean,
does.
we're talking about AI that can write code, it can compose
Right.
music, it can even hold a conversation.
Yeah.
But what happens when those digital wordsmiths become vulnerable?
Right.
That's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah. And that's the critical question to be asking because the security challenges we're facing now with generative AI,
Right.
these are totally new. It's not just your typical data breach.
Right. It's not just about hackers breaking into the system.
Right.
It's about what they can make the AI do once they're in control. Like that article you highlighted uh, about the financial firm that had their AI model manipulated
Oh,
into
yeah.
making unauthorized trades.
Yeah.
Like that is a terrifying thought.
Oh, absolutely. It really highlights why traditional security approaches just aren't enough anymore. They're important, but we need a serious upgrade for this generative AI age.
Okay.
To really get a handle on this, we need to start by breaking down the key components of these systems.
Okay.
And I think the best place to start is with foundation models.
Okay, hold on. Foundation models, those are like the GPT-4s of the world. Right?
Exactly. The big ones. Think of them as the engine of a car.
Okay.
They're powerful, but they need direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where custom models come into play.
Okay.
These are the models that are tailored for specific tasks using your data. It's like the difference between a general-purpose engine and one that's fine-tuned for a Formula One race car.
So instead of just being able to write any text,
Right.
it's writing like marketing copy for your new product launch.
Precisely. But you know what they say. With great power.
Comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Or, in this case, the need for some serious guardrails.
Okay, so we don't want our AI race car driver going rogue on us.
Exactly. Guardrails are the rules and limits we place on what the AI can access and what it can do to prevent unintended consequences, right? Keep your AI in check.
Okay, I like it. So we've got the powerful engine, which is our foundation models.
Right?
We are customizing it for our needs with our custom models.
Yes.
And then we're putting up guardrails to keep everything running smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
What's the last piece of the puzzle?
Agency. Now, this refers to the AI's ability to interact with other systems.
Okay.
Now, a little agency is good.
Okay.
It lets your AI pull information from a database or something like that.
Wait.
But too much.
Yeah.
Too much. And you risk it, going off the rails.
Like accidentally giving it access to your company's entire marketing budget.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Things could go wrong very quickly.
Very quickly.
So how do we prevent those scenarios? Is that where this incident response comes in?
You got it. And thankfully, your research included this fantastic framework that we can use for this.
Okay.
The AWS 7-element incident response methodology.
Okay.
Think of it like the Swiss Army knife of AI security incidents.
I love a good framework. Walk me through it. What are these 7 crucial elements?
All right, so first up, you've got access. Now, this is all about figuring out if your systems have been compromised.
Yeah.
Have there been any unusual login attempts?
Okay.
Was there a back door someone slipped in when you weren't looking? It's about understanding how a potential attacker might have gotten their foot in the door.
So even in the age of AI, like those traditional security best practices still matter.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about fancy algorithms. It's making sure your digital front door is locked and bolted.
100%. And that article you sent about the open source AI project,
Yeah.
the one where someone left the API keys publicly visible in the code repository,
Oh.
that is a perfect example of an access vulnerability.
Oh, wow.
Someone left the keys to the kingdom out in the open.
Ouch. That's a rookie mistake, but with potentially huge consequences.
It's huge.
What's the next element we got to be thinking about?
Infrastructure changes. Has anyone been messing with the systems that support your AI?
Okay.
We could be talking servers, databases, even your website, if your AI interacts with it.
So looking for any signs of, like, digital footprints where they shouldn't be?
Exactly.
Like that article we discussed about the AI model that was hijacked to mine cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah.
On company servers talk about a hidden cost.
That's exactly why monitoring logs for any unusual activity is so important.
What?
Sudden spike in resource usage, particularly like outside of normal operating hours.
Yeah.
Red flag, something's probably wrong.
It's like noticing your electricity bill has tripled,
Right.
but you haven't changed your energy consumption habits.
Exactly.
Time to investigate. What's next on the list?
All right, so now we're getting to the heart of generative AI security. AI changes.
Okay.
Have there been any unauthorized modifications to the AI models themselves?
Okay.
Has someone tampered with your custom model? deleted it,
Okay.
or even worse, messed with those critical guardrails we were just talking about.
Wait, someone could reprogram the safety features of my AI.
It's a real threat.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's like handing over the keys to the car after you disabled the brakes and the airbags.
And that's exactly why logging any changes to your AI models is so important.
Okay.
You need to know if someone is trying to change the rules that your AI plays by.
Mm-hmm.
This element is all about ensuring the integrity of your AI itself.
So it's like that scene in every hacker movie.
Right.
They finally break through and they're like, I'm in. But this time they're not just inside your system.
Right.
They're potentially rewriting the very rules that it operates by.
That's a great analogy.
It is kind of scary.
It is. And it leads us perfectly to the next element, data store changes.
Okay.
This is all about protecting the data your AI relies on.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's dive into data store changes in more detail after a quick break.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were really getting into the thick of it with generative AI security.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
And we were going through that AWS 7 element, incident response methodology.
A great framework.
And I think we left off on the fourth element, which was data store changes.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're really talking about the fuel for the AI engine here, the data itself.
Exactly. Because a security breach, it's not just about the AI, it's about the data that AI interacts with.
Right.
We need to be on the lookout for everything from unauthorized access to manipulation of the data itself.
So not just someone breaking into the library, but like rewriting the books.
Perfect analogy. Imagine someone, sneaking into your data stores and subtly altering the training data sets.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of learning from accurate information, your AI is being fed like a distorted view of reality.
Right.
This is what's known as data poisoning.
And that could have some really serious downstream impacts.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if the data is compromised, the outputs are unreliable.
At best, at worst.
Or even dangerous.
Yeah. One of the articles you sent mentioned a chilling example about a self-driving car that was tricked by a few stickers.
Really?
Yeah. Placed strategically on road signs. Oh.
And it wasn't about hacking the car's software. It was about manipulating the data the car used to interpret the world around it.
Wow. So even subtle changes like that can have huge consequences.
Absolutely.
So how do we even combat that? Is it just constant vigilance of our data?
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
We have to treat our data with the same level of security we would say our most critical infrastructure.
Right.
Regular audits, anomaly detection systems,
Right.
anything that can help us spot suspicious activity before it becomes a problem.
Okay. Makes sense.
So moving on, the fifth element in our framework tackles how the AI is actually used, what we call invocation.
Okay, invocation. So we're talking about the pumps and inputs to the AI.
Exactly, and the outputs it generates in response to those inputs.
Because we have to remember that even with a perfectly secured system, a cleverly crafted prompt can still trick the AI into doing something it shouldn't.
Like that example everyone always talks about with the language model.
Yes.
Where researchers got it to reveal its programming secrets.
Exactly, just by asking it a series of seemingly harmless questions.
Wow, so it's like you don't even need to break in.
Right.
You could just sweet talk your way in.
Exactly. And that's a great analogy because it highlights how the nuances of language are becoming a cybersecurity issue.
It's not just about ones and zeros anymore, right?
It's about understanding the building blocks of human communication.
Fascinating. Okay, so what's the next element?
The sixth element is all about private data.
Of course, because these systems process so much data.
Tons of it.
Some of which has to be sensitive, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we need to make sure that information is protected even if other parts of the system are compromised.
Right.
One of those articles you shared mentioned a case where a tech company accidentally exposed personal info from its chatbot's training data set.
Oh, no.
Yeah, huge legal and reputational risks.
Oh, I bet. A PR nightmare.
Exactly. So protecting user data isn't just good ethics.
Right.
It's good business.
It's just good business.
Yeah.
So how do we mitigate the risk of those kinds of leaks? Is it all about encryption?
Encryption is important, but it also comes down to system design.
Okay.
Do we really need to be feeding our AI absolutely every single piece of data we collect?
Oh.
Or can we be more strategic,
Yeah.
The principle of least privilege.
Don't do no basis.
Exactly. Don't give it the keys to the kingdom if it just needs to sweep the floor.
I like it. Okay, so we've covered 6 of the 7 elements.
We have.
What's that final piece?
The seventh and final element, and this is a really interesting one, is agency.
Okay, agency. Didn't we talk about that earlier?
We did. We talked about it in terms of the AI's capabilities.
Right, its ability to interact with systems and
Yeah,
take actions.
exactly. But in this context, in terms of incident response, we're asking a different question.
Okay.
Did the AI's actions contribute to the incident,
Well, interesting.
or were they a direct result of the compromise?
So it's not just was the AI hacked, it's did the AI become a tool of the hack itself?
Exactly. Let's say someone manages to change an AI's reward function.
Okay.
That mechanism that guides its decision making.
Yeah.
And now the AI starts doing things that seem irrational, maybe even malicious, but it's really just following its new objectives.
So it's been tricked into like working against its best interest.
Exactly. And securing against that is the big question.
Yeah, a scary thought.
It really is. And it's one that we're all going to be grappling with for years to come.
We'll be back after a quick break to discuss those broader implications and what this all means for the future of AI security. Welcome back, everyone. We've been on quite the journey exploring this really complex world of generative AI security.
Yeah, it's a wild ride for sure.
And we've been using this AWS 7-element incident response framework.
Really useful framework.
But I think one thing has become super clear, right?
It's that.
It's not enough to just bolt on more firewalls and encryption.
You got it. We need a fundamental shift in how we think about security in this new age.
Exactly. Because generative AI, it's not like traditional software.
Totally different beast.
This thing's dynamic. It learns.
Unpredictable.
Yeah. So how do we secure something that's constantly changing and learning like that?
The million-dollar question.
It's like trying to hit a moving target blindfolded.
It's tough, but not impossible. One of those articles you shared really emphasized robust testing.
Oh.
We need to constantly be probing our systems, looking for weak spots.
So like ethical hacking, but for AI.
Exactly. Trying to break it before someone else does.
And this isn't a one-time thing, right?
Definitely not. It's got to be an ongoing process built into every stage.
From development through deployment.
All of it.
Okay, so it's not enough to build a secure system.
Nope.
We have to make sure it stays secure, even as it learns and adapts.
That's the key.
That seems like a really tall order.
It is. But there's another factor at play here, too. Speed.
Okay.
The faster we can spot and respond to these incidents, the less damage they can cause.
Because every second counts, especially in cybersecurity.
100%. That's why having a clear incident response plan is so important.
Like that AWS framework we keep talking about.
Exactly. It tells you what to do, who does what, when something goes wrong.
So it's not just having the tools.
Yeah.
It's knowing how to use them effectively.
And having the right people in place.
Okay, so it really is a team effort then.
Security is everyone's responsibility.
That's a really good point. And, as we go deeper with generative AI, those security challenges, they're just going to keep getting more complex.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
How do we even stay ahead of the curve? It feels impossible.
It can feel that way, but the key is to stay informed, be proactive, always be learning.
Always be learning. I like that.
Because this technology is still so new.
Brand new.
We're all figuring it out as we go, but one thing is certain, it's not going away.
It's here to stay. So we better figure out how to make it safe.
Generative AI has huge potential to change the world, but we need to be cautious and responsible.
Well said. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure.
For this deep dive into generative AI security. Hopefully you learned a lot and feel a little more prepared for this exciting but challenging new world.